Hello everyone, welcome back to the X and Y Daily. Now today I'm going to be covering something that I didn't really expect I was going to, but hey, sometimes news gets leaked and things come out when you don't expect them, and that's going to be the case quite often actually, I feel, with the upcoming X and Y Dailies, because new stuff is happening all the time, and we're going to be reactionary, and that is exactly what I'm going to do today, because we found out today about the evolutions of the two fossil Pokemon that we had covered in the past 2 days, which is pretty convenient actually, seeing as I've already covered those guys. You kind of have a feel for, you know, what potentially these guys were going to be, and then all of a sudden we see the shiny demon in the middle of the road, two of them in fact, two massive fucking dinosaurs, holy shit. So there hasn't actually been a huge amount of information given about these guys so far. We do have like an IGN screenshot, or a couple of screenshots actually, documenting what these guys look like in the in-game engine, which is pretty cool. But aside from that, we know their names, and we know one new move that has been revealed, so let's jump into their names, I guess. So, our flappy-eared friend on the left, the evolution of Amora, is going to be known as Auroros, which is rather fitting. I feel that that makes a lot of sense, and I don't really have any qualms about it. And the only real reason I'm bringing up the names is because I'm not too impressed with the name of our friend over on the right, and he goes by the name of Tyrantrum, which, you know, I understand. He's angry. Look at him. He's fucking raging. But tantrum is one of those words that doesn't really... It just makes it feel like, you know, a small child trying to get its way. It doesn't feel like, you know, the kind of badass name that one would expect from a giant fucking red dinosaur, right? So I do kind of feel that it's somewhat... it doesn't really live up to the look, and we'll move on to the aesthetic in a second, because that's kind of the most important thing here, mainly because we don't know much else about these two guys. But yeah, I would have preferred something a bit more badass, I guess. That's what they decided to go with, and, well, can't blame localization. That's kind of their job, to think of things, and sometimes they don't quite get it on the money, but you win some, you lose some. That's how it goes. So let's talk about aesthetics, seeing as that is the major thing here. I'll start with Auroros, who has certainly lost the kind of cute charm, as it were, of its previous form, and has become like a fully fledged fucking Diplodocus. I don't even know if that's the right dinosaur that's being based on, but that's the one that came to my mind, and I'm just gonna run with it, honestly. I'm not sure if these like flaps are reminiscent of any kind of ancient like dinosaur creature, or whether that's just a thing that they've added for some particular purpose. I'm not sure if it's going to affect it in terms of like being able to swim in water. It wouldn't really make a lot of sense, seeing as it is rock ice. It is retaining the typing of rock ice, and I am kind of finding it rather difficult to see it as being a part rock type as well. I'm not quite sure. Maybe those diamonds on the sides are kind of doing something which gives it the rockish feel, but I don't know, it does seem like very watery to me, especially the color palette being very blue, and these kind of flappy things here seem like there would be some kind of water aid, but I guess that's what they're going with, and I respect them for it. It's still a cool design. I definitely like it, but of course when you pair yourself up against a motherfucking giant red T-Rex with spikes everywhere and a giant jaw and just the most badass fucking look ever, like holy shit, this guy, I tell you what, he is a sight to behold. We obviously knew that Tyrant was gonna kind of become a great and mighty powerful beast, but this is somewhat over the top, ladies and gentlemen. He has a massive white spiky doom scarf around his neck to protect himself, and the whiteness like almost a beard under his chin. We've got the orange hue, the scales which are somewhat tinted, and the protective shield over his eyes. It's just, it really is impressive, and I am definitely feeling that he is the cooler design, if you can already tell from my reaction so far. Yeah, I'm impressed. I like both these guys. They both look great, and that's all I have to say on that. So there are a couple more things that I would like to mention about these guys. First of all, their abilities that they had in their first form are going to be retained, so Auroros will have Refrigerate, and Tyrantrum will have Strong Jaw, which is going to be pretty fantastic for the both of them, dependent on what moves they get access to, of course. You know, both these abilities are kind of reliant on, should I say, the move pool that they are able to kind of dig from, as it were. And so, you know, we'll see how that works out for them. I hope it does great wonders, and it will be fantastic. But the other thing, yeah, they both retain their typing, which I think I mentioned with Auroros already, but Tyrantrum is also staying as Rock Dragon. Why wouldn't it? It makes kind of perfect sense. And then, what am I going to say? I'm going to talk about the move that Auroros gets access to. Now, this new move that was revealed is called Freeze Dry, which sounds kind of, you know, standard ice move. Maybe it's like base 60 power. I don't know. Thinking of like random. If I heard that from someone down the street, why would anyone be talking about a move of Pokemon down? Never mind. The context matters not. For the actuality is that this move, very interestingly, is super effective on water types, even though it's an ice move, which is that's very strange. It kind of brings up like ideas of Scald, even though Scald isn't, you know, I don't know, I always thought that it would be a cool thing if Scald was maybe like fire type or something, because, you know, it does give the burn, but it seems like it's super hot water, so maybe it would kind of verge on that territory. And now we actually have a move which kind of does that. It also has a chance to freeze. I don't think we have like concrete details as what the percentage is or anything, like most things with X and Y. We are currently a little bit in the dark, but the potential here is pretty massive. The fact that it has Refrigerate to turn normal moves into stab ice moves, and then it has a ice move which will deal with water types, because it may not have a move in its arsenal that will be able to do that, and it's going to be stab. So it has a stab move to deal with water types, even though it's an ice Pokemon, which is so... It's really cool. It's definitely a cool thing. Obviously, we don't kind of know the base power yet, which could turn things completely around. It could be like a 40 base power terrible move, but at the moment, we can hold out hope that it's going to be pretty fantastic, and I certainly would like to see that for certain. So I feel like this is going to be an interesting, or perhaps will have an interesting effect on the metagame. It doesn't, of course, depend on how Auroros functions in terms of its stat distribution. As I kind of mentioned before with Amora, how it looks like it's going to be more defensive. I think that's kind of being perpetuated through the look, the visual design that we have so far of Auroros, that it will be more defensively oriented, and of course we've mentioned that it's pretty bad defensively. Someone mentioned in the comments yesterday, which I picked up on, is the fact that Amora is actually weak 4 times to Steel as well, which I didn't even think about, because I never really think about Steel as an offensive typing, even though Sizzle runs around all over the place with bullet punches. But yeah, that's another, it has 2 4 times weaknesses, and then like 4 or 5 other weaknesses. So if it's slow and it's unable to utilize these moves properly, then it may all just be some kind of big waste. But I hope, and you know, for the competitive community's sake, that it isn't terrible and it isn't shunted down to a lower tier, and that it does well. But yeah, that's pretty much it. God, I talked a bit longer on this one than I usually do, but hey, that's the thing with spontaneous things, with spur of the moment news that we have right here for you and everyone and all the world. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. That's gonna be that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Certainly, if you did, you are feel free. Yes, I am Yoda. You are feel free to leave like on video, and you can follow me on Twitter at LordMBZ. You can follow, like me on Facebook /LordMBZ. I can't speak anymore. My brain is too frazzled by these new guys, and that's gonna be that. I'll see you guys tomorrow on the XY Daily. Until then, goodbye.